I hit diamond on 2 separate accounts in Marvel Rivals, but there's a bit of a twist to it. I'm a PC player with absolutely zero experience using a mouse and keyboard. So how did I do it? I fucking played a melee character. Nah, but all jokes aside, I'm gonna be giving you some insight on some of the things that I did that don't get talked about enough on YouTube. And I'll also be giving you some more niche tips that you can apply to your own gameplay if you're like me and you're new to keyboard and mouse. Or if you're a controller player, it really doesn't matter. Some of the stuff does carry over. This is the most general part of the video, but it is the most important for anyone that may be new to hero shooters, and especially people in my position using a mouse and keyboard for the first time. A couple of weeks ago, I released a more in-depth game sense type of video that I'll have linked in the description of this, but game sense is the first thing that you need to develop. Having game sense to know exactly where to be to get the most value with my limited skills on mouse and keyboard almost single-handedly carried me to diamond on both of my accounts. On the first account, it only took me about a week or so to hit diamond 2, one-tricking Thor. And on my second account, I one-tricked Winter Soldier to like plat 1. And then I was in a dry slump, so I just swapped to Thor and just made that last push to diamond. But my first day on mouse and keyboard was the first day the Rivals came out, and I could barely move around the map correctly. And aiming like I could on a controller was literally out of the question. Making up for this absolute lack of skill on my end, I chose to compensate that by learning a character that got rewarded for good decision making rather than just raw mechanics, and that character was Thor. I personally don't think that Thor is a very strong character, but he is a quite good character in the right hands, and I really click with him due to my time playing Overwatch. I used to be a diva main, and having that similar, like, short mobility in a way really helped me focus on other things like, you know, ult tracking, positioning, and managing my cooldowns effectively. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I'm literally just chilling in 99% of my games. I'm just trying to figure out how I can make the right decisions rather than just focusing on being a fucking aim god or some shit, you feel me? This can be a bit frustrating at times though, because as a tank player, creating space can only do so much for your team if no one does anything with those windows of opportunity that you create. But side note, this is why I made a separate account to play DPS. Understanding the challenges of the other roles in the game undoubtedly helps you get better at your role. I even did this in Overwatch, and I reached Masters after like 3 seasons, but that is detailed in the video that I'm gonna link in the description. I actually made a video on it. Go check that out if you will. But another thing that absolutely helped me get used to mouse and keyboard was changing my keybinds to anything that would make the experience easier. In Marvel Rivals, almost every character has like 4 or 5 different abilities, and I'm pretty sure Moon Knight has like fucking 7 when he has the Cloak and Dagger team up. And as a new player, looking at 7 different binds is damn near the same as looking at the control panel of a fucking plane or a spaceship or some shit. I personally don't like using the E or Q bind or the number binds because the E and Q keys just seem like too out of place, as weird as that sounds. The number binds are almost another case entirely because they just feel too far away to reach when I have to be thinking about like 10 different things at once in game, especially early on when I couldn't even walk straight for the most part. And I really like that I can use my mouse buttons to bind certain things on specific characters like Venom. I use my shield ability and I have it bound to my mouse 5 button on Venom, and I can really just press that on reaction. Having a mouse with mouse buttons on the side is a major advantage in my opinion, because as a controller player, pressing buttons with my right hand is just second nature at this point. So having some of the most important cooldowns in my kit be on the right hand is just way easier to get used to. I highly recommend a mouse with at least 2 side mouse buttons, but 3 or 4 can't really hurt either. I don't know how that's gonna look, and I don't even know if any manufacturing companies even release mouses with, you know, multiple mouse buttons other than just 2. But I also have an additional button on the left of my left click, and it's a macro button. I don't have any macro set up because I don't know if I can get banned for them in this game, but having that option is really good for other games that I might move to if I ever pick something new up. I also recommend buying a keyboard that's not full size. The highest I would go for like a gaming keyboard is maybe 75%. And if you don't know what that means, then you should do some research. But yeah, I don't want anything too long getting in the way of my mouse space, especially if you have limited desk space that you won't be able to, you know, scroll your mouse all the way, and you'll have to adjust your DPI and your sense and all that shit. So just get a normal gaming keyboard, maybe like 60%. I have a 65% if I'm not mistaken. Some more in-game tips that I recommend you follow is binding your ping button and push to talk button to something easily accessible. Having those keybinds in a familiar place wins more games than you might think. Another tip I'll give for the keyboard is to get one that lights up. It'll take a bit to get used to the keys if you're not a very good typer, and having these keys light up in those dark, you know, late night gaming sessions definitely helps you find those binds more quickly in those clutch situations. But now for the most important part of the video, and I'd say the best part, to be honest. And I could really talk about this for hours, but it's the mentality that goes into winning games. I'll probably get some shit for this, but you need to have an ego when playing this game. But not in the way you might be thinking. You don't need to have an ego to where you're just sitting in open mic flaming your teammates for every mistake they make, because that'll quite literally make everyone, including yourself, play worse. What I mean by having an ego is that you need to have so much confidence in yourself and the plays that you can make that you don't hesitate to make things happen. So many times I've seen people hold their game-winning ultimates because they don't have the ego and confidence in their team and their ability to win the fight that they could have won easily if they had just used it. You need to believe that you can win 100% of the fights that you're in if you're not down any players or major resources, that is. You need to have that ego and belief in yourself and your team, but understand when the fight is lost as well. If you lose your main DPS and your tank, you'll likely just lose the fight. So don't have so much of an ego that you stay in and, God forbid, invest in ultimate on the fight that you have no chance of winning anyway. If you lose anyway, just humble yourself and regroup with your team so you can have an actual chance to have that highlight play. This is something that I personally struggle with and can literally carry me to Grandmaster if I just actively think about the plays that I try and make. I'm Diamond 1 on my main at the time of this recording, so maybe I will be in GM by the time this is out, but I don't know. Another big thing on mentality is to not give up on your team. I've lost so many games where we're up 99-0 on a domination just for the other team to just steamroll us out of nowhere. There also have been instances in which the other team absolutely steamrolled my team on the payload map, and there's a major stat diff throughout the entire team, and we still won. If you're down bad in a match, just realize that it's literally not over until the timer hits 0. The most underrated thing that I have to say in this video, especially about mentality, and this will probably be the last thing, you need to be annoying as fuck when playing this game. If you see anyone trying to set up a play, if possible, you need to shut it down immediately. You want the enemy team to feel as if you're playing the game for them and they have no agency over the outcome whatsoever. This is probably the feeling that you've gotten when you've gotten absolutely stomped out in a match, and this is something that you can learn from. The opposing team shut you down so effectively that you felt quite literally hopeless, and that's such a good way of winning games. Some great examples of this in game are with Groot and Penny. If you just shoot the Groot walls and Penny nest immediately, they kind of just stand there and get rolled, especially around the diamond ranks and the lower ranks. If you notice someone on the enemy team having a hard time, you need to exploit that and get them as tilted as possible. Another example of this in game is if you have a Panther or a Spider-Man like in their enemy team's backline going crazy, you need to be supporting them in one way or another. Whether that be playing more aggressively in the front line to create pressure on both sides of the fight, or going someone like Iron Man and actively shooting the dive targets to make their one-shots quicker. When you have someone creating so much pressure in one place, you need to be trying to make a play or a heavily supporting play to steamroll the other team. Now, I know it has been a while since I've uploaded. I think it's been like 2 weeks, but I was sick for a week or so and it got really bad. I literally went from like 185 to 177 at my lowest in just a couple of days. So yeah, I was not eating at all, but I am feeling a bit better and I have been playing more ranked. If you like these chill types of videos where I just talk about rivals or just life stuff, be sure to stick around, support the channel. I'm actually really close to partners, so I really would appreciate any type of support, love, you feel me? But with that being said, thank you all for watching and I will catch you in the next one.